I think talking about Missouri State and Southern is some of the same things that I'll be talking about. With Missouri State, obviously a 5-set thrill. I think the last 3 times we've played them, it's gone 5 sets. So we always seem to have a great battle against Missouri State. And I think a couple of the biggest things, one of the things that we have to work really hard on, we had a couple, not more than a couple, some opportunities on some really easy execution plays that we did not take care of. And I think that's going to happen, but I think what happens after that is what our biggest issue is right now and trying to figure out. So we don't execute on a play that we really should have. It kind of snowballs into 1, 2, maybe 3 more problems that we have. And so just being able to get our kids to move on after those types of things, I think is a big thing for us. The other thing that I think was the biggest difference maker with the Missouri State match was we had 2 players that really hurt us, and I didn't think we did a very good job of adjusting. It seems like when we adjusted in our front court, then our back court didn't make the correct adjustment. So different things like that we really need to probably practice a little bit more. You know, that's on us for not being prepared in that way. But just being able to make those adjustments within the match, but making sure that the front and back court are connected with that. So I think that was the biggest difference maker. Otherwise, there was some really good volleyball by both teams during that match. And obviously, you know, coming out, I think statistically, like when you look at the overall stats, it's exactly where we want to be. But I think it gets skewed a little bit because it's set by set, where we have a couple really good statistical matches, and then we have 1 or 2 that are probably under what we want to do. So the final stats kind of skew what we're looking for a little bit, but our team knows that. It's just not statistically something that a lot of people see because the numbers are right where we've talked about we feel we need to be. I think going into the next match, I'm not going to give a lot of details, but our travel situation was rough, and I would like to just first of all thank all the people that worked really hard through the nighttime hours to make sure that we got to Carbondale finally and were able to play that match, because at one point I didn't know if we were going to be able to play that match. Huge shout out to our parents that were on that trip for their help with all of that. And then just super proud of our kids to be able to basically just show up after the drive, get off the bus, do a few things, and be able to put all that out of their heads and be able to get themselves ready to compete in a very different way than they normally have preparation. So, and we actually started really good against Southern. I think part of that was Southern started a little bit slow, and we're not playing how they were capable. So won a pretty good 2 first sets, and then Southern Illinois started playing like they were capable. And we just really didn't respond in that 3rd set and part of that 4th set, but we're able to get back in it in the 4th, and then obviously going to the 5th. We had a really strong start, which we played a couple of 5-set matches this year, and that was probably our strongest start in the 5th set. And then after that point, we were just able to trade punches, trade points, and we're able to pull out that match. So very, very proud of our kids. I think we definitely made steps this weekend in a lot of different ways. There was some really good volleyball played. It's hard to really point out players, especially in the sport of volleyball, but I would like to say Taylor Alden was just awesome this weekend. She had a triple-double on Friday. She was 1 dig away from having a triple-double on Saturday as well, and I just really love what her and Jenna are developing and being able to do. You know, Taylor's a swinger part of the time. We switch quickly into a 5-1 where she's setting and also attacking as a setter, and we're just getting more and more comfortable with that. And part of that is also on Jenna and her ability to do that, so really proud of that. Emily, obviously she led us in kills, which everyone sees that, but her development is coming from her attack percentage, which is huge. She's going to get a lot of kills just because she's an outside hitter, but the attack percentage is the number that we're looking for, and she has been well over where she was earlier in the season and exactly where we want her to be, so a lot of growth there. Our middles and rights did a great job of just being available, came up with some huge blocks throughout the weekend, so just an overall great team effort this weekend. Going into Evansville, Indiana State, we'll watch film this week, obviously, but Evansville is a team that started off non-conference, awesome record, had a little bit of a slow start in the first few matches of conference, but are back on track completely. They swept both Illinois State and Bradley this weekend, who are 2 of the top teams in our conference. And I just watched a little bit of video on them this morning, and man, they're playing well. Three of the best pins in the conference in terms of they have a set, which I look at is high risk, high reward. It is incredibly fast to the pin. The difference with them is I don't look at it as high risk for them because they do a really good job of when that set is not where it needs to be, taking care of it. And a lot of teams aren't able to do that. If it's not there, they're going to err or put over something very easy. They've been able to develop their outsides to be able to take care of that ball. So a very tough team from the service line, and we've talked about our passing game. That's an area that needs to be improved, so we will be challenged. They have two kids that rip topspin serves, which we don't see that very much. I think the most difficult part is our ability to be able to replicate what they do in practice is going to be probably close to impossible. So trying to find different ways to prepare us without actually seeing what we're going to see will be our big challenge with them this week. And then haven't watched Indiana State at all, but it looks like they're great from the service line as well. Very well balanced on the offensive side. They're always a scrappy team. They have one win, but they are playing everybody close, so they will be a tough opponent as well. So looking forward to a fun weekend to be able to be at home. Any questions?
How important is it to take advantage of these home opportunities since in the coming weeks you're going to have road match after road match after road match?
Yeah, and just the ability to be at home and taking care of business at home is super important this year, especially when we've already had 2 losses at home. When you look at the conference race, it is absolutely crazy. Trying to predict even the top 6 is absolutely impossible after as many matches as we've had. So obviously being able to take care of business at home is very important to this conference race. All right, thank you.
No, but I'm the smart mistake.
Okay. Now moving on to UNI football, had a loss last week at North Dakota State, 20-34. This week, welcome South Dakota here at the UNI Dome, and that'll be on ESPN+. Here's head coach Mark Farley.
Go ahead.
Well, Coach, what do you think after getting an opportunity to look back at the film?
The biggest thing I took from the game was, well, it's kind of twofold. One, our penalties really killed us in the beginning of both halves, and then they hurt us at the end of the first half as well. So our penalties were a big part of getting beat, more so than probably what you thought during the football game, because our opening drive was the false start, and then again in the second half, in the first drive was a false start, put us back at 2nd and 15, and basically nullified those first 2 drives. And then off both those situations, momentum happened for North Dakota State, and in their first 2 series, shortly thereafter, they got their basically 28 points. So, and then we had to dig out of the hole. So the first thing was, the penalties were huge, particularly the offensive penalties. What we did as we came back in the second half, if you go back the first quarter, even after we did that to ourselves in the first quarter, what we did in the second quarter was really tremendous. You go back and look at it, we battled back, we got the game back in check, we drove the football field, and we played really good defense. So it was a very good second quarter to get back where we wanted. And then the drive right before halftime, the penalty on Spencer where they pushed him in the back and they called a personal foul on him was ridiculous, but it cost us that half the distance to the goal, and then they ended up getting the 3 points right before half. That really wasn't the difference in the game. The difference in the game was the punt return after the penalties. So it came back in the second half, and that was probably the one that got us the most. And then we come back and score again right away after that, and then had to try to battle back with down the 14 points, and then you had to start throwing to get touchdowns and not field goals, because you still had 12 minutes left to go in the game. So as it played out, we gave up our halves the first series, got behind, and then had to battle back both halves. did that, but you can't do that when you're on the road, expect to win at North Dakota State, and we did that to ourselves.
How'd you come out of that game injury-wise? Always a really physical game. I know Christian Boyd didn't play. Limited snaps, it seemed like, for Logan. And
Yep.
obviously Tyson and Jaden are still out, it seems.
Tyson,
Jaden Scott.
Jaden Scott, Kershaw, yeah, I was on TK. Yeah, they're all still out right now. And then Vanderslice went down right at the last time. So Wolf tried to go, could not go. Christian Boyd still could not go. And as you said, TK he's still going through whatever it is. It's just weird that hasn't had a chance to come back yet. And yeah, so all those same injuries are still out there. So they're starting to add up a little bit, but we still have the first unit out there. It's just that they're starting to add up a little bit, and it takes away your depth. And that was probably my concern in the game for when we lost Christian Boyd, was if we didn't get him back, and that was going to be a battle of the line of scrimmage, I knew we were going to have some wear and tear inside because we weren't deep there, that we didn't have him. As it played out, Butcher and Brink and Caden really did a good job inside, and then that's why we kept going back and forth with packages to keep them fresh, because we were limited on numbers, so we just wanted to make sure they were fresh so they could play that fourth quarter as much as anything, because that's where it really gets to be a battle in that game.
South Dakota's playing pretty well.
They're playing great. They're playing great right now, man. They're putting up lots of points, and they're playing really good defense. They've held everybody, with the exception of one opponent, to less than 20 points, and they're putting up 35 to 45 points on everybody. So they're playing really good football right now.
What is it specifically about their defense that is so dangerous?
Oh, they changed it. You know, they changed their philosophy of their defense last spring, and then now they've had more time to work within it and played it one spring, and now it's playing it, so it's got more things to it because they changed coordinators, and yeah, they're playing really good defense. I mean, they went from what you would say is a basic four-man front to what you call now more of a it's not a three-man front, but it's a very multiple front, let's put it that way. So they got the three-down lineman and an extra linebacker, so it's a multiple front more so than a stagnant four-man front that they used to play all the time. And being multiple makes you prepare different ways and creates a little bit more confusion in protections and things like that you have to prepare for.
Probably about an hour and a half ago, Will McElvain tweeted out that he was appreciative of his time at UNI, but he's entering the transfer portal. Would you like to make any sort of comment on Will's entering the transfer portal?
Yeah, and that's Will has been great for us. Will has been a 2-year starter for us. Came in here as a walk-on and earned the starting position. Beginning of this year, and rightly so, because those are decisions that we made based off his play. And Will's been this, and then when he got his start and he's having his success, you know, you got at any position right now, the transfer portal is going to come up all the time. And the number one position in the transfer portal is the quarterback, because there's only one of them, and you only have so much time to play college football, and so you understand the reasoning behind it. Anytime you lose anybody after they've been with you for a while makes a difference, because they're still part of our group, they're still part of our family and our program. But at the same time, you also understand of why these things happen now, because of the rules that allow you to do this, because this is always about the opportunity to play as much as the opportunity to be in the program you want to be in. So it's a double-edged sword, and we wish Will the best. You know, we'll help Will any way we can, because Will helped our program.
In light of that, a decision to be made soon on who the number 2 quarterback will be going forward?
Yeah, I think we probably have a pretty good idea right now. I mean, we're deep enough into this that we could probably decide if I had to right now, but I'll let it. I'm not going to say who it is today, but I'll go to practice and have a pretty good feel of what's going on. It's just Will's actually been hurt. What people don't know is Will's been playing hurt this year. He's got a bad foot. His foot's been in a boot for the last 3 weeks. He comes to practice and plays with a shoe on, but he puts the boot back on for the rest of the day. So he's had it since camp, and he has he's battled through it, but it's kind of got progressively worse, and that's when he started putting the boot on the whole time because he's such a competitor. He's trying to compete through all that as well. So there's a lot of underlying things that happened in this, and that was one that a lot of people don't understand that he was battling through. So you appreciate the fact that he was running around at Iowa State and doing the things down there and Sacramento State with technically a foot that was if you don't have your feet, man, it's hard to do stuff. But he wasn't telling anybody because he was getting it out. So a lot of those underlying things make you who you are, and he's a hell of a competitor, and that's why he was our starter.
What do you think Theo stands to gain from the experience on Saturday?
Oh, to me, what I saw walking away from that football game was this: is he stepped up in the pocket nice. I believe, y'all wrote about their quarterback around the football. I actually think that Theo ran for more yards than their quarterback did. If you go back and look at the stat sheet, I got to verify that. But if he didn't, it was close, and it was all the scrambles coming up in the pocket, running for first downs in the same way, and that's what he brings to the game is his ability to throw the football, his ability to get you the first down if he's got to run for it, and the ability under that environment that he made some nice plays. He took some hits, and the thing that stood out to me was on the last drive when he dropped his head, he dropped his shoulder, and he tried to get the extra yard in the fourth quarter. So we're learning about him as he plays the game too, and I think our receivers are, and he's getting more used to the receivers. So it's he's also got to know when to slide and when not to drop a shoulder too, because he's a big man and a good football player. Anything else? Man, you guys are like you're in church. It's like all right, see you later.
Now UNI soccer, who dropped a game to Indiana State this past weekend, 1-3, and they hit the road to take on Missouri State Wednesday and then Valparaiso on Sunday. Here's head coach Bruce Erickson.
Good. Thank you. Well, let's start with the Indiana State game. So probably our best 45 minutes we've played the whole year. I think it was as confident as I've seen our group, and that came on the heels of a really good win against Illinois State the week before. And then we just had a couple moments that have sort of dictated how our season's gone, and just gave up, a pretty deflating goal at the end of the first half. So we went into halftime 1-1 and came out and played just okay in the second half and gave up a couple more goals that are not typical of the goals that we normally give up. So what started out as probably our best game for a half ended up being similar to some of the games we dropped earlier. So we've got to be able to sort that out. We make some of the same mistakes on some of the goals we've conceded that aren't traditionally what you'd see, from a team that's really disciplined. So we've got to find that, because we've got a huge week going to Missouri State and going to Valpo, who's currently sitting in second. We're kind of down to crunch time with these last 4 games. I think getting into the conference tournament is probably predicated on how this week goes. So it's a big week for our girls. Questions?
What's this Missouri State team look like?
They're a lot like us. I think they've had at times difficulty in scoring goals. They're defensively they've played pretty well. I know they tied Loyola on Saturday and played really, really well defensively. So they're a team. Our game with them in the spring was really tight. And so we're expecting, they're in the same boat as us. So the interesting thing is I think the result on Wednesday is probably one of those games where it might actually, if it's not a tie, the win might actually eliminate the other, you know, because you go to head when you get to tiebreakers. So, you know, it's almost like it's a game worth 2 wins almost, you know. So we really want to go down there and we've played well on turf, and both games are on turf. So we love being on our new field, but you know, when you train a lot, you know, in the dome and on turf, you kind of get used to playing on that. It's such a fast surface. So I'm excited about going down there. I think, you know, this is a huge week. We're down to really two and a half full weeks left with 4 games, but this week I think will end up determining how much longer our season is. So it's a big game. Anything else? Thank you.
Now moving on to UNI swim and dive, had a meet against Iowa State this past weekend that they dropped 113.5 to 183.5. They then have this week off before traveling to Indiana State in 2 weeks. Here's head coach Nick Lakin.
Thank you. Yeah, so we were really thrilled with kind of how the team performed. Ultimately, we were a little bit shorthanded. We had a couple injuries early in the week, and then a couple people that were out sick. So you know, that really kind of changed things up for us a little bit. But we were really proud of the ones that were there and how they battled all the way through. We won the last relay, which I think is the first time we've ever beat Iowa State in a freestyle relay, so that was a good win. We had Abby Hutchins, who's a freshman diver from Johnston, ended up winning the diving event, so that was great. And then Amber had a really good come from behind win in the 200 back, and Faith Larson, another freshman, won last weekend in the 50 and then also won this weekend in the 50. So we feel like we have some really good pieces to build on, and hopefully get everybody back by the time we head to Indiana State next week. But Iowa State, just a really well-coached, really deep team, and Dwayne Sorensen, their head coach, got his 125th win, so I think they said he's got over 50% of the wins Iowa State has in their history. So a well-coached group and a tough group, and so we felt like we at least battled as hard as we could this weekend, and then we'll kind of regroup and head to Indiana State.
How big was that last leg from Faith in the freestyle relay? Not only just to win a really close event, but also looked like it was the fastest time that anybody had from any of the teams.
Yeah. So she's a pretty competitive young woman, and so she was kind of disappointed that she had tied the 50 freestyle, and so she came back and really wanted to kind of send a message on the way out. So she had just a great, outstanding relay leg that's significantly faster than where a lot of our kids are right now. So really excited about that. All right, thank you.
Then finishing off with tennis, they competed in the Missouri Valley Conference Individual Tournament this past weekend. They also have this week off before finishing their fall season in 2 weeks at Iowa. Here's head coach Chris Sagers.
Yeah, just finishing the MVC individual tournament, and like always, just very, very tough. I'm always been impressed with the players we have in this conference and the depth of some of these schools, and but proud of how our team competed. Doubles just always seems to be our problem area. Unfortunately, our 1 and 2 dubs team lost, so got eliminated for that third day. But you know, Emma and Anna at the 2 spot did pretty well. Their first round, they had just lost in a tiebreaker, so it was very close. But Olivia and Thaisa losing their first match and then coming back and winning their last 2 doubles matches. So they ended up getting in 5th place, played very well. But overall, just the doubles, we definitely gotta, you know, clean up a few things and, you know, just play with more aggression because, again, we're just unfortunately losing too many of these matches, and come springtime, we're going to need that doubles point. It's going to be very, very critical going into singles. Singles overall, not bad. Again, our conference really solid. A lot of great players. A couple bright spots. Darda at number 1, losing on the first day, but coming back and beating 2 experienced players. So finishing with 2 wins in singles at the 1 flight, very solid, very good for her as a freshman. Ended up getting 5th place. Lorena at number 2 had a strong first day, lost close to another experienced player, but ended up unfortunately losing another one. Emma, same thing at 3, close match, ended up losing close. So our losses have been close, and then we've had some good wins as well. So like Anna playing at 4, kind of struggling with her confidence, but ended up getting 5th place, closed out with a good win. And Isa and Thaisa losing 2 close matches, and then Olivia, another bright spot, getting the 3rd place, ended up getting 2 wins. So very good, kind of closed out pretty well, closed out strong. Singles, like I said, been pretty impressed, and just trying to build with their confidence, but doubles, definitely something we need to work on when we're approaching the off season here. Anything else?
So it's just practice time in Iowa, and that wraps up the fall for you?
Yeah, we got ITA regionals, big tournament. All the Power 5 schools going to be there. Just strong field. So it's going to be good to go down there and play and watch against those, the great talent that's going to be there. And then, yeah, once that's finished, we're off season till January.
How was the weather this past week? Were you able to go outside the entire time, or you have to move to Hammond at any point?
It was rainy. We had, the first day was all rain, so it was a bubble in, I don't know where we were. This is your area. I don't know. We were not in Hammond. We were just 15 minutes north of Valpo. That could be. I don't know. I just popped.
My expertise to this.
Yeah, I just popped in the GPS. The courts, I don't know. They had like an indoor facility, like maybe basketball courts, and then they had 6 courts bubbled.
Okay.
So that's where we were Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday was nice. So we were outside. It was good weather, other than the bugs.
That will happen.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you.